Instead of missed hints, what hint or hints did you catch that got you laid? Story 1 was hanging out with a girl one afternoon in college when we both started talking about how it had been so long since each of us had fun. We went to a party that night with an agreement that we wouldn't go home alone no matter what. Halfway through the party, consisting of mostly people we knew pretty well, I asked her if she's found anyone. She says no and asks me the same question. I replied negatively, and liquid courage compels me to say, well, how about we go home together? She says, sure. 4.5 years later, she's still my girlfriend, and I moved to Europe to attend grad school at the same university as her. I'd call that a win. Story 2. Plot twist, missed the hint, but still got it in. A girl I'd gone to school with, let's call her Sarah, and I had been texting back and forth a bit, and we'd run into each other occasionally, since we have mutual friends. Eventually, we both end up at a club for a birthday party, and we're flirting pretty much the whole time. At some point, she tells me her roommate was out of town, but I didn't really think anything of it at the time. Closing time rolls around, and we head outside with the rest of our friends to grab cabs. A group of them are heading back to one of their places to enjoy the little jazz cabbage. I ask Sarah if she wants to go, and she tells me she'd rather just Uber back to her place. In my head, I'm thinking, oh, she's probably tired, maybe next time. So I tell her I had fun and start to turn back towards the rest of the group. I turn around to Sarah's friend Maria, standing there with her hand in the air, giving me the stop sign. She says to me, what are you doing? Go with her. Which I did. Did the deed and discovered one of her was pierced, which was neat. Story 3 was giving her a back rub while we were watching a movie. I went to the kitchen to grab something, maybe a drink, I don't remember, and when I come back she had her top off. I ignored it for a few minutes until she started pushing her chest out towards me. Things escalated pretty fast from there. All this happened after about 3 weeks of missed hints. I'm not the best at picking up on them. Story 4. I mentioned my collection of around 1,200 CDs, and she, not really into music, said she'd love to come and see it. There was no way in hell she could be interested in my CDs, and she wasn't. The other thing that surprised me that night, laying in bed after the fact and her alarm goes off at 3 a.m. She slams it and says, I gotta go. I have to lead a WoW raid in an hour. She was also one of the brightest people I've ever met, and quite too. Great girl, wish her the best. Story 5. 3 weeks ago, I went on my very first camping trip. I'm a huge city boy / yuppie or whatever, and I'm not outdoorsy at all. But I wanted to say I've gone camping before, and for this reason. I had 0 camping equipment. One girl in our group, she also happens to be the maid of honor for an upcoming wedding in which I'm the best man, brought extra camping gear for me. What a sweetheart. Anyways, fast forward to our first night, and I had my very own 2-person tent to myself. It was awesome, and around 1 a.m. she knocked on the tent entrance and told me to scoot over. She couldn't sleep because everyone in her tent, an 8-person tent, was snoring too loudly. That's fine, I'm super grateful for her because otherwise I would be sleeping on the grass and getting bit by bugs. She slides in. I notice she's not wearing any shorts or sweatpants. Only an oversized shirt from our alma mater. This was odd to me initially, as it was really chilly. But whatever, maybe this is how she sleeps normally. We talk for a bit, and she asks me how work is going and if I like camping so far. I told her it was pretty cool. It's nice to get away from the city sometimes. She then straight up tells me she's never had fun in a tent before, and then we did it. Right there. Sounds like your first camping trip was more eventful than you expected. I mean, hey, you wanted to experience the great outdoors, and it seems you got a more than just a starry sky and some s'mores. It's one thing sharing a tent for some peace and quiet, but seems like you two found another way to keep warm. Story 6. Went on a date. We were looking at the dessert menu at a restaurant, TGI Fridays, and we didn't see anything we wanted. So she suggested we pick up something from the store on the way home. When we pulled into the parking lot, she was driving. She said, "Here, go get some chocolate sauce." I looked at her confused for a brief moment, and she kept this totally straight-faced, subtle smile, as if she was waiting for the light bulb to go off. And when it did, I ran into the store and grabbed some Hershey's chocolate sauce. The dessert was really good. Story 7. I was home from college and hanging out on my front porch with a girl I just met. She was talking about how it's weird that some people sit around all day and don't even go on walks, let alone exercise, then complain about being out of shape. Then somehow that led her into saying, Take us, for example. We're both active people in good shape, and we might end up fighting. I'll be honest, I'm not sure what else was said after that, but I took the not-so-subtle hint. And I took it again when she showed up at my college at around midnight looking for a place to crash. Story 8. Lady friend and I were hanging out one night and very, very intoxicated. Thankfully, my brain pulled out of blackout mode long enough to remember clips of the night. Discussion about her boobs, and she's got phenomenal ones. I asked to see them, but she gives that look and just asks, "No pictures, right?" The next clip shows her topless in front of me, and I think I asked her if she minded if I squeezed them. Next clip, I'm sucking on those titties. Then she's with no clothes, laying on my couch, and we're talking about a tattoo I didn't realize she had, as well as her bald pussy. Then we're making out, and she says she's on her period and suggests the shower, so we end up fucking in the shower. The alcohol wasn't helping my situation, so a lot of shower heads. Then I'm puking in the sink. Sounds like you had a pretty wild night there, my friend. Sometimes things just escalate and one thing leads to another. Looks like you guys took full advantage of that concept. It's pretty cool that you guys felt comfortable enough to let loose and have a good time. Although, from the sound of it, maybe dialing back the alcohol next time might be a good idea. Story 9. I had moved out of my hometown for a few years, then moved back. I was practicing kung fu at the time and had found a new place to study back in my hometown. There, I ran into an old French friend of mine from high school. He said, "We should get a drink and catch up." So, a few days later, we headed out to the bars, heading to a place called Habits, but walking past a bar called Animations on our way. Casually glancing in the window, I saw a very attractive blonde who was dressed to impress, sitting by herself. I made a quick note of it to my French buddy, who was always looking for some action. We went to Habits and had a few beers, and not much was going on. We decided to go to Animations to see if the attractive blonde was still there. She was still alone, so we grabbed some beers and saddled up next to her. We asked why she's been alone, and apparently she had set up a date over the internet. I think POF? This was 2010, and the guy either no-showed or saw her and left. No way. So the three of us are having drinks, and under the table she puts her hand on my knee. I put my hand on her knee, and she immediately grabs it and moves it to her butt. I look at my friend, who then leaves. She asks to go and have a cigarette, so we step outside and she immediately flashes me. I drunkenly say, "You know, my apartment is literally around the corner from this bar." I never saw her again. She was 39, I was 26, and it was the only time I woke up the next day and my partner in fun was already gone. Story 10. She took her shirt off. I picked up on that clue because of the times I lay awake having missed the "she took her pants off" clue a while before that with someone else. The funny thing is, taking her shirt off wasn't a hint. She was wearing a sweater that pulled the shirt with it by mistake, was embarrassed and hid in the sweater for a moment while taking it off. I thought it was a hint and helped her finish removing both. She thought I was smooth as hell. I thought I was so clued in for finally catching the disrobing hint. Story 11. I had a long-term girlfriend through most of the high school, but she broke things off early in my freshman year of college. Not long after that, I met up with a female friend from high school whom I had always found attractive, but due to having a girlfriend, had never really been interested in. We caught up over dinner, and then afterward I suggested we continue hanging out and watch a movie. I had no ulterior motives and haven't even thought about the possibility of anything happening. But when I said that, she laughed kind of knowingly, and somehow I just knew that she thought I was trying to have fun with her. But she agreed to my plan, so I figured if she thinks I'm trying to have fun with her and she's going along with it, I may as well try and have fun with her. So I did. She was into it, and we had a good time. It's cool that you two were able to reconnect after high school and found a new dynamic in your friendship. Plus, it sounds like your intuition was spot on, making the move when the vibe felt right. Story 12. I did some research over the summer in Missouri when I was an undergrad. Met a woman one afternoon and talked with her for like an hour about my research. I studied mathematics, so not many people could listen to me talk about what I was passionate about for very long. After about 30 minutes in, I finally figured out that she was probably just pretending to like what I was saying because she was into me. Told her we should continue this conversation over a walk. Took about 30 minutes to walk back to my apartment and I invited her in. The conversation didn't last much longer. That was a good day. By the way, if some random person seems genuinely interested in a topic that 99.999% of people actively hate talking about, there's a good chance that person is into you. Story 13. Senior year of college. I and 3 of my guy friends were at this 2 girls' apartment. We had all been drinking and it was getting late. One of the girls said, "You guys can sleep in my room if you want." Missed hint. I thought she was being a polite hostess, offering up her bed, and she would sleep on the living room couch. Wanting to sleep in the same room as her, I said, "Nah, I'll sleep in the living room." She went to bed in her room and the rest of us set up in the living room. Her female roommate was like, "Why didn't you sleep in her room? She wanted you to." I explained, "Because I thought she would sleep out here." At this point, everyone was telling me to just go into the bedroom. Clearly, I was wanted there. The trouble is, by the time I got there, she was asleep. Not wanting to be a creep and also not wanting to go back into the living room with my tail between my legs, I slept on the ground in the bedroom. She woke up at some point and pretended not to see me because she felt bad. I woke up early in the morning and bounced, hoping she didn't see me. She invited me over the next night, and we laughed about the whole thing. And then, 5 years later, we live together and have 2 beautiful cat children. Story 14. I had been dating this girl for about 2 weeks and had never even kissed her. I invited her over to my place one night to hang out and just relax. Way before Netflix and chill. I had stopped and bought a couple of 6-packs on the way home from work. When she showed up, she was there for about 20 minutes, then excused herself. I assumed she was gone to the restroom. I walked into the kitchen to get a drink and caught out of the corner of my eye, I saw her in my bedroom and she was removing her panties. It wasn't so much a hint that I picked up on, so much as I saw something that she didn't want me to see right away. We were together for 13 years and married for 12. Story 15. Before we were married, the first time my wife and I kissed, we were in bed together. You see, I didn't think it was strange that she wanted to come over to my place, sleep over in my bed, and it was okay for me to be there too. And she wore a really sheer nightdress. That, well, it must have been cold at my place, given it showed how perky she was. After all, we were friends, and that's the sort of thing that women do with female friends that they really trust not to be weird, and not to be total mouth breathers, right? I figured there just might be something else going on there when she kissed me and pressed her up against me. So I took a chance. Turned out she more than sorta liked me. Oh, what's that you say? That's not really a hint? Now you tell me. Talk about an interesting just friends scenario. It's pretty hilarious how oblivious you were to her signals, but hey, it worked out in the end. That first kiss sounds like a scene from a rom-com movie, with the sudden realization of more than friends' feelings. Glad you caught on eventually, or you might still be wondering if she likes you or not. Story 18. Went on a first date with a girl about 3 weeks ago. We had only talked through text for a couple of days, and it was our first time seeing each other in person. We go grab drinks at a bar downtown near my apartment. We hit it off really well, laughing and joking non-stop. But we were only at the bar for a little over an hour. She finished her drink and said, "All right, let's go hang out at my place." I mentioned that she had said only a few minutes earlier that she was going to have one more drink. Without changing the tone or facial expression, she again said, "Let's go hang out at my place." I just smiled and said, "Sounds perfect." Literally, as soon as we walked in the door, she grabbed me by the collar of my shirt and started making out with me with furious passion. We stumbled over each other into the bedroom, then proceeded to have amazing sex. I ended up falling asleep at her place, woke up the next morning, and proceeded to have fun again. The very next week, I got a text from her. We had only talked a little bit as it seemed pretty obvious that neither of us was looking for anything serious. She asked me what I was up to that night. I said, "No plans. Want to grab a drink?" She said, "No." Thinking that was it, I was in the process of typing a response like, okay? But before I could finish typing, she sent another text that said, "Skip the drinks, just come over." So I did. We backed, and it was great. Story 17. This happened years ago. This beautiful girl at my work liked me, but I did nothing because her boyfriend sat right next to me. Then they broke up, but I never knew because I don't pry into other people's business. A couple of months went by and she asked me to lunch. We got our food and she said something like, "The plate looks really sloppy." I agreed and said, "Yeah, they didn't really put this together very well." Her reply was, "I like it best when it's sloppy." We were late getting back to work. On another note, she was one of the best girlfriends I ever had. She and her best friend had this ritual. If you dated one of the girls and she deemed you a good boyfriend, then she'd bring the best friend in and have threesomes with you. Months later, I found out that everyone in the office knew these girls were freaks. I made sure I was the perfect boyfriend for as long as I could. Story 18. I was at a party talking with the girl I liked where we were having a good time laughing and drinking. Fast forward 3 hours later, we are both a little drunk and start kissing. Hands are everywhere. After a while, she gets close to my ear and whispers, "Let's get out of here." Me thinking, what is this bitch talking about? I'm kissing her and in second base. Why would I want to go somewhere else? Get out of here? Where to? Why? Her grabs my crotch. "Let's go somewhere dark." Me thinking, well, I guess she has a point. If we move even further away from the party, we'll have more privacy. Okay, let's go. She took me to her SUV. She drove to some hidden trees behind a parking lot, pulled from her purse, and we both went to the back seat. Fast pace, falling, moving, hitting each other, making unnecessary noises, hitting stuff in the car, losing shoes and stuff, and proceeded to take my virginity away from me. There was nothing I could do. I hope you're doing well, Johanna. Story 19. In my case, I caught 2 hints, though she swears neither of them was a hint. I bump into my sister's best friend in a shopping center parking lot. She's older and in college. I'm a high school senior. We chat and she says I should visit sometime, and we can have an I ask where she's going to get enough people for it, and she says it only takes 2. My high school senior really likes this plan, but it doesn't happen because I'm a chicken. 3 years later, she happens to come back to my hometown when I'm home for the summer, and we decide to go out dancing. Much later, we're back at my place drinking beer, and I notice it's 4 a.m. I ask her what we'll do when the sun comes up, and she says, go to bed. I jump at the opportunity, and we make good use of the next couple of hours. Later, she asks me how we ended up in bed, and I tell her it was her idea. She was astounded. She actually meant go to bed, as in go home and sleep. So I relate the conversation, and she swears she never had any intention of doing anything like that with me and doesn't remember that conversation. Ah, well, it lasted the rest of the summer. Clearly, I am proof of the power of positive thinking. Sometimes it's all about being at the right place at the right time, isn't it? Even though she denies giving you any signals, it seems like there were some mixed messages going on there. Good for you for seizing the opportunity when it came up, though. Positive thinking indeed seems to have worked in your favor. Plus, sounds like you two had quite a memorable summer together. Always remember to shoot your shot. You never know what might happen.
Please leave your story down below in the comments. I would absolutely love to make a video about them in the future. And also, don't forget to like and subscribe. And until next time, peace.